Just a quick intro of NOAR Technologies, is formerly ADSK Solutions. Started the company a little over 7 years ago. It was based off Autodesk solutions, right, services only. We've grown to be an Autodesk dealer to provide the software. We also provide 3D laser scanners, and we're an enterprise dealer for DJI Drones. So we changed the name to NOAR Technologies to kind of make it a bigger umbrella instead of just being Autodesk together. Is that okay now? Better? All right, cool. Also do Bluebeam, anything you want to do with a PDF, any type of documentation. If you guys have any questions about that, be more than happy to walk you through it. If anybody wonders where NOAR Technologies came from, when we changed the name to go under a bigger umbrella, we had to come up with something different. When we go to dinner, if anybody knows, we had twins, so it's always Studer Party of 6. They always call us Stutter Party of 6, so Stutter Technologies didn't sound quite right. So we came up with NOAR Technologies, which is the North Star. So NO and AR is in the star, and the idea is navigating and helping companies find their way through technologies and guidance as well. Every dealer says they're a little bit different than the other ones, and what separates you from other dealers, the idea, what we've seen the most, and hopefully you guys feel the same way, is our support before sales. I think if we had 2 calls in there for at the same time in the queue, we'd probably help the person on support before we did the sales call. We've been in your shoes, we've been in your feet, we know what it's like. The scanner's not working, drone won't fly, right, or software's not working. So we want to make sure it's long-term commitments and not just a quick sale is the idea. I was going to do a couple introductions as we get started here. A couple people are stuck in traffic. So Michelle Studer's going to be in here a little bit later. Paige is up in the corner taking pictures. If anybody didn't get to meet her on the way in, I want to thank her for putting a lot of this together. And Kelly is also in the back of the table. So if anybody gets a chance, if you have any questions while we're speaking today, feel free to go up there and they'll help you out with everything. And we did a meeting in Ohio yesterday. Tyler was there. He's billable today, so he couldn't make it. So that's a good thing, right? And Brian Elbe from Leica is going to be presenting next afterwards to represent and show the BLK360 and talk about that in a little bit. He's a regional scanning consultant for a couple territories here locally. So just a quick background on me. I started with 3D laser scanning and point clouds back in 1998. Some of you guys probably have seen that in my office before, maybe used the 2400 back in the day. It was pretty crazy, and the size of it is just ridiculous. You literally were carrying a mini fridge around. The batteries were about the size of a half of a mini fridge, to give you an idea. And it was a 40 by 40 view is all you got, and each one was about 20 minutes each, right? It took a long time. So now today here we are, 2017, talking about a BLK. And has anybody seen one of these yet in person? A few of you maybe? Nobody? Okay. It literally fits in the fridge now, right? So it fits in the palm of your hand, and you can walk around with it. It's crazy the way things have changed. So I'll leave this up to Brian to elaborate on maybe the history of the scanning a little bit. But there's a 2400, and they've kind of evolved over the years from time of flight as well as phase-based scanning. And now Leica has multiple scanners, the P16, P30, and P40. Mostly we can discuss the range of each one and the differences. And then of course today we're going to unveil the BLK360. So with that in mind, give you a bigger umbrella besides just Autodesk. You know, why did we change the name, NOAR Technologies? Here's everything that we support and the different things, new technology-wise. We have some things at the back table. If anybody gets a chance, we'll introduce some of the things as we go along today as well. But you'll notice up there is, of course, the drones, the DJI, the Pegasus mobile mappers. You're driving down the road 55, 60 mile an hour, right? Instead of doing a static scan 360 this way, you use this profile mode. It captures the data as it goes down the road. MS60 is total station, but basically it does low-res scanning as well. Typically, Rick Solvay here locally would take care of that, and we do all the scanning side. So the P16, P30, P40, anything above your surveying typical equipment. Has anybody seen a Pro Scan yet? We represented the Pro Scan before Leica purchased it. It's kind of a mini mobile mapper is the best way to think of it. You can put it on a golf cart. You can push it on a cart, like a little trolley as well. What's interesting about this is it goes indoors and outdoors, and you can put a prism on it, and robotic total station can follow the prism. So really intriguing indoors. And very accurate at that too. So we took it to the next level, put it on a golf course cart, and kind of drove it around. You can see it was a while ago. We still haven't rebranded the golf cart yet, but it worked really, really well. The backpack We're hoping to do a presentation on that probably maybe in the fall, if anybody wants to come out and take a look at that. The accuracy is not quite the same as some of the other scanners that we show you, like a P30 or P40, but it's very interesting. It's a different way to capture data. Reality capture is kind of the term we're using to get a lot of data, and everybody wants it quicker and quicker and quicker. It might not be quite as accurate, but we don't need everything perfectly accurate. Just like the BLK360, we talk about the specs. Depends what you want to do with it. Right? If I'm just an architect doing floor plans, and 2D floor plan deliverable, I probably don't need a P40 to do that. I could do that with a BLK or a backpack. The hand scanner, we don't have the product here today, but you simply go into a closet. Or what's really unique about this is you can go around an object. Right? So if you have something here and you want to go around the entire object like a golf cart, it's easier than setting the scanner up multiple times to capture that data. And then lastly, we have the iStar 360-degree photo in 10 seconds or less. And what's unique about that is a scanner, when you go indoors in low light, like a situation like this, it could take 8 minutes, even 9, 10 minutes to get a photograph 360 degrees. Take the scanner off, put the iStar on there, and you have a 360-degree photo that's ready to go in less than 10 seconds. Okay? So you can keep up kind of the black and white workflow. For a Starbucks gift card, anybody know what every one of these can create? What they have in common? Point cloud. Who was it? Brandon? No, good. Somebody? Who said it first? Nobody likes Starbucks? Whoever it was, see Paige in the back or Kelly, and they'll hook you up. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see everything and all the new technology that's kind of coming out. It represents and creates point clouds. So I think we have it back here. I haven't seen it yet, but there's a Ricoh, like a Theta 360-degree camera. It's less than $400. Has anybody seen that yet? A few of you I know have it. So a 360-degree photo, you just take a picture. You can go to Best Buy and buy this. We don't even sell them. It's just something I really encourage everybody to use. And you can also do videos with it. Okay? I have something later on. We hung it upside down on the drone to capture a lot of data. Yesterday I learned, if I remember the website, I think it's Oculus Builder, but you can take that camera, take a 360-degree photo, and it automatically goes to your floor plan and links it. So when you click on it, it opens up and you can look at 360. So kind of a different type of deliverable and under $400. Ricoh Theta, I think it's a Theta S, and I'll show part of it I think a little bit later if I have it up here. We also represent the Leica drones, the Abotics as well. They're much larger, of course. It's a hexagon, as you can see, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. So the common thing with Leica and separates them from other scanning providers is the workflow. What do you do once you get the data? How the scanning and the point clouds are great, but if you don't know how to do anything with them, they don't do any good for you. So in this case, whatever you want to use to collect the data, we want to register the data. You might go to Survey to extract the data for line work and point codes, or you might want to model some objects. So we have a model application. We're going to talk about publish a little bit later. If you publish your data, it goes into a TrueView, which is a standalone application that you can get measurements. It's really the easiest deliverable that you can have. We also have TrueView Global, which is going to allow you to put it onto an iPad or on your phone, and also into VR glasses. We have the VR glasses in the back. If you on break or at lunch, you want to take a look at those, feel free. If not, we'll pass them around here in a little bit and let everybody put them on. The funny part is everybody's wearing the glasses. You don't realize it, and you're looking all around, right? And everybody's looking at you thinking there's something wrong with you. You're kind of immersed in your own world, right? And then Jetstream is the other big one. We're going to talk about it. Won't show a lot. But has anybody brought in point clouds, maybe using Autodesk Recap into Revit or into Civil 3D, and it has a little lag or it's slow? So you come up with workarounds in order to adapt to that. You only load 10 scans, 20 scans, or 100 scans instead of 1,000 scans at a time. So if you wanted to avoid that, leave it in the Leica IMP format. You can connect it directly with CloudWorks using Jetstream, and there's no lag time. So we're going to try and show you that. Just if you heard about it and you haven't seen it, we want to show off that a little bit, and then some new features in CloudWorks, which I think is going to come in really handy. If you scan with the BLK, it goes to the iPad, and then what you're going to do is bring it into Recap. Recap can actually pull it into AutoCAD or Civil 3D, whatever Autodesk platform you want with CloudWorks. And Brian's going to show you, just pick a wall and it draws a line for you automatically. So it'll be the quickest way to get 2D deliverables accurately. All right, so the workflow I just showed you, hopefully most of you are pretty familiar with. This is a new workflow. This is the new concept that you want to take a look at. You're going to take the BLK360. You're going to have to use an iPad Pro. So I have one, I think, in the back that we'll pass around here. It's 12.9 inches. I think the cheapest one you can get is about $800, 32 gig of RAM. You want to store your point clouds on it, so you probably want the one with 128 gig. I feel like I fill up any device that I have and always run out of storage, no matter if it's my iPhone or an iPad. So I think they go for about $8.99. And then what it does is takes a rather Wi-Fi, we connect to the BLK, and it's going to come in, and you're going to want to register. So it connects to your Recap Pro app on the Apple device. And there's kind of a picture of it. It would auto-register in the background. And once it's registered, you're going to have a transfer option on the right. You click transfer, and it would then come in as a RCP. You could bring that into regular Recap. If you haven't used it already, you can download that, open point clouds, and clean them up a little bit for free. And it would then get dropped into any Autodesk product that can handle an RCP file. So, pretty much anything, AutoCAD, Recap, Navisworks, any AutoCAD platform. And just to give you guys a quick agenda, I'm probably a little bit behind already, just welcoming everybody here. We're going to bring Brian up, talk about the P-Series, a little bit of the difference. Why would everybody just buy a BLK for the price over a P40, right? It seems like a no-brainer. So it depends on your workflow, depends on what you're doing. He's going to go over a little bit of that as well, talk about a few other things like we discussed, and then we'll have lunch provided. Feel free, if you came just for the BLK360, you don't feel obligated to stick around. I know everybody's got a lot of things to do. I appreciate the time you guys took to come out on your busy day. So if you want to eat lunch and skip out, that's fine. If you're here to see the drones and the UAV, we're going to do that right after lunch. We probably won't fly this one over here, but we're going to fly the gray one. We'll take it outside. Anybody who wants to fly it is more than welcome to put their hands on the controls. Or if you want to see autonomous flight, we'll do that as well outside in the parking lot. If anyone wants to stick around. And we got some cool deliverables that we're going to discuss on the UAV side as well. Cool. Brian, you want to jump in here quick? I think you can just leave mine if you want.
Yeah, I can sit on top.
We have a surveyor running Revit, so be careful. I set expectations earlier.
I got one.
That wasn't good yesterday. I guess the last thing, while we're talking about the BLK, did anybody get their BLK reservation certificate if you bought one in the past yet? A couple of you? Very cool. So they are taking pre-orders now. Just let us know if you guys want help doing that.
There we go. Disconnected again. There it goes. All right, sorry about that. So, before I really get started talking or doing much here, I'm just kind of curious how many people did come just to see the BLK or came for the whole event or whatever, mostly BLK. How many people in the room are surveyors like me? More than yesterday, that's good. Okay. So, just a little bit about myself because I don't know very many people in the room. I know there's a couple people that I know. But I've been with Leica Geosystems for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I worked in the Cincinnati area at a civil engineering and surveying firm, so I am a licensed surveyor, licensed in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. But for the last 8 years of the 16 years I was there, I was predominantly all laser scanning. Started out as the lead technician, then took over the division and kind of ran the division and helped build what it is today when I left. I have experience with all kinds of softwares, all kinds of scanners, everything from Obviously Leica scanners, ZNF, Surphaser, Faro, Trimble, all kinds of different scanners that we had used back then. But by the time I left there, we were all 100% Leica scanners. We rented stuff from time to time. Software-wise, like Chad said, Revit, Civil 3D. I've used RealWorks. I've used Cyclone, as well as ClearEdge 3D. We use that predominantly for a lot of our models as well. So let me go ahead and skip ahead here. So what I'm going to cover today, I am going to go over a little bit of the specifications, functionality, field methodology for both the BLK and the PSeries scanners. I'm sure some of you guys in here that already have the PSeries are probably going to be a little bit bored because you know what it's all about, but I'm sure there's people in the room that don't. So just going to kind of cover all that. And then we'll go a little bit into, like I said, the demonstrations and then software demonstration. And then if we have time, we might get into a little bit of return on investment, but we'll see. So Chad had this or similar slide to this up there, you know, back in, I don't know, maybe 2009 or 10 or 12 when the P20 came out. That's when the phase-based scanners on the Leica side basically were discontinued. So we still service the HDS 7000, still support it and everything, but I think all the other ones have pretty much been discontinued by us. The Scan Station 2 no longer has support for it either, so if anybody has one of those, it doesn't get calibrated and it does not get serviced anymore because we have no more parts for them. The C10 will be probably the next one that will be off of the chopping block. We're no longer making them, but by law we have to still keep parts and manufacture, be able to service them for an extended amount of time. I would say as long as they're still able to calibrate everything, which it uses the same machine as the P-Series, they'll probably still support it until they run out of parts. So I don't have a date on that yet. So when you look at the P-Series scanners, we have three. You have the P16, the P30, and the P40. There's a few differences between them other than price. You have the range, which is 270 meters for the P40, 120 meters for the P30, and up until the BLK announcement, the P16 was only 40 meters, and it's now 80 meters. So if you have a P16, I believe you have to, when you send it in to get it calibrated, they will increase the range of it out to 80 meters. So this is a kind of I think a more significant thing, especially for surveyors, than people think. Because prior to that, I would not have tried to sell P16 to a surveyor. The P16 doesn't have surveying workflows, so you can't set up over known points and take back sites and stuff like that. However, now with the extended range, you're still going to get the same amount of range on a roadway as a P30 or a P40 would. And instead of acquiring targets on board, you can still scan the targets at range and then use the software to basically acquire them later. So you'll be a little bit different of a workflow, but I now think the P16 is actually a viable solution for surveyors that don't have the ability to purchase the higher end one and want to enter the market with a lower end scanner for surveying purposes, because the BLK really, in my mind, is probably not a very good tool for surveying, and we'll cover that in a little bit. All these scanners have the exact same liquid real-time dual-axis compensator that are in your total stations. So why is that pretty important? Well, I kind of equate that to the same thing as if your instrument, if you set it up and it read it at the beginning and then it read it at the end, but it didn't read it for every individual shot, could you really trust all those shots that you took if you were sitting there for an hour? Probably not. So, you know, every single location that's taken with the P-Series scanner is ran through the dual-axis compensator and it's compensated for. So if I sat there and turned the tri-bract screw the entire time it was scanning, it would update all those points. The other nice thing that you can do with a P40, and I know it sounds weird, and until probably about a month and a half ago, I wouldn't have done it, but every so often we have to do presentations in front of our colleagues. We do demos in front of our colleagues, and we basically, you know, talk about things that we can do better or things that we can see. Well, one of the guys, while his scanner was running, walked up to it and just pushed it so that the scanner turned. And I was amazed. I was like, why would you do that? Well, the scanner actually sat there for about 15 seconds and then turned back to where it left off and picked right back up. So if you had a scanner without a dual axis compensator, or even like the BLK, if you did that, it wouldn't do that. It wouldn't go back to where it was at and pick right back up. So just a couple of important things that I think makes it a little bit different. Temperature range-wise, you're at -4 up to 122 degrees, so you're not really going to be shut down here in the wintertime if you're scanning outside, where with the BLK, you're not going to be able to scan down to -4 degrees. It has an IP rating of 54, and you can also scan in the rain and the snow because all the optics and the mirror are enclosed. The BLK optics are enclosed. It has an IP rating of 54, but it has an exposed mirror. So if you're going to scan in the rain, you better have an umbrella over it. P30 and P40, like I said earlier on, have the surveying functionality. So you can do quick orientation, set azimuth, is just setting up over known points, taking back sights. You can do resections, you can do traversing. The only difference is you're not going to set a target out at 1,000 feet like you would with your total station, because it's not going to locate it that far away. You're usually stuck to about 85 meters with your back sights and foresights. But you can also do the free station method as well. So the thing about the P-Series scanners that most surveyors like is it's a multifunction tool. They can use it on any project that they ever have. They can use it for surveying, they can use it for buildings, they can use it for plant. It doesn't matter. You can use it for just about anything. When you look at the user interfaces on the scanners, the P30 and the P40 are the middle, and the one to the right. You have the ability to change back and forth between the basic screen, which is just a one start scan button, and basically the advanced user interface as well, where the P16 is just a one button start. There's no advanced user interface. So, and that's mainly because before the P-Series came out, people other than surveyors felt that our scanners were too difficult to operate, that it had too many buttons. And when you looked at other competitors, they usually had one button, and people like that. So that's why we made it basically with an advanced user interface as well. So I was wondering why that thing was blinking yellow. I was like, that's not good. So when you look at the BLK, and I can't touch it now because Chad's connected to it, if you look at that first sentence up there, the spherical imaging system. So the biggest difference between the BLK, other than the size and the weight and everything else, is it's going to take images first. And it's going to transfer those over to, if you're using the iPad like Chad is right now, it'll transfer those over. All other scanners typically scan first, then take images. This one's completely the opposite. It's going to do its images first, and then it's going to take the scan afterwards. The housing is black anodized aluminum. It has no openings on the scanner whatsoever. So if you look at the P40, the only opening on it is on the bottom, and it's basically an air intake to cool the scanner off. This one has nothing, no fan, nothing like that to cool it off. Any heat that it generates is dissipated through the actual housing itself, but it never gets hot. You'll never really, it's not like you're going to touch it and burn your hand or anything like that. So it's just a different way of, different method of cooling the scanner off, if you will. The thing that I like about this scanner, I think the most, is we actually brought in a separate team to help with the development of this scanner. We had a general idea of what we were looking for, size, weight, price and stuff like that. They just weren't quite sure how to get there. And this scanner is made completely different than any other scanner. If you really pull that thing apart, there's really only 3 main components inside. Each of those components have hundreds of components inside of them, but it's not like if you took the housing off of a P40 where you would see all those thousands or hundreds of components. You take that housing off and it's going to break off into 3 pieces. So it's much different than anything else. Weighs about 2.2 pounds. It's about 4 inches in diameter, 6 inches tall. So it's the lightest, smallest scanner on the market today. It has a 1-button push operation. If you look on the side of the scanner that's facing away from me right now, there's a button on the side of there, and that's it. There's no screen. There's no anything else on there. You basically push the button and go. So if you're not operating it with an iPad, you'll have to connect to it first to basically specify whatever densities you want to scan at. If you're using it in conjunction with an iPad, then you can specify and change each scan if you want to. If you're going to use the Apple iPad Pro, you need the larger one. So there's two different Apple iPad Pros. I think there's a 9.5 inch or something like that and a 12.9 inch. You need the 12.9 inch, mainly because the processor that's in that's much better than the one that's in the other scanner. So for streaming data, Wi-Fi, you're going to need that one over the other one. Storage on board the scanner is enough for around 100 setups. So there's plenty of storage on there if you're going out and doing, scanning or whatever else. You can mount it upside down as well as upright, which is the same thing with the P40s. You can mount those upside down as well. The battery is very similar for those of you that have P40s or PSeries or C10s. It's very, very similar to that battery. It's essentially the batteries that used to go into our older data collectors, the really thin, small ones, is basically what fits inside of there. The battery capacity is around 40 setups. So starting to get into some of the actual specifications of the instrument. It's just like the P40. It is a different laser, but it's a time-of-flight laser, and it's waveform digitizing technology as well. It's a Class 1 laser, and you got a 360 by 300 field of view. Your range is anywhere from 0.6 meters out to 60 meters, and you got 360,000 points per second. Your accuracies are 4 millimeters at 10 millimeters and 7 millimeters at 20 meters. So even though you have the capacity to get out to 60 meters, really the sweet spot of the scanner is probably 20 to 30 meters, because once you start getting out any farther than that, the accuracies are really going to diminish even further than 7 millimeters. If you compare that to a P-series scanner, which is 3 millimeters at 50 meters and 6 millimeters at 100 meters, the P-series is a much more accurate instrument than the BLK is going to be. The reason I like to talk about the differences is, I don't have any problem with any scanner. I think every scanner has its place. You just got to know where you're going to use it, when to use it, and all that other good stuff. And I think the BLK has certain circumstances where it's going to be perfectly fine to use. However, like I said before, I'm not going to go out and start scanning roadways or bridges with a BLK. It's not to say that I would even use a BLK for everything indoors. I mean, sometimes I might need greater accuracy that would require a P-series scanner over a BLK. It just depends on every project that I would have. So it has, now that Chad's not connected to it anymore, the scanner actually has 3 cameras on it. I'm going to pull it down here, and they're all located along the side. So if you look around here, there's a camera here, another one here, and another one here. They also have LED lights that will light up as it's taking photos. And so basically each one's a 5 megapixel camera. It also has a FLIR camera, thermal camera built into the side of it as well, but it's only one camera, so you're not going to get a spherical image. You're just going to get a panoramic image, kind of like if you took something with your iPhone or anything like that. If you guys have any questions, just shoot them out as I'm going to. You don't have to wait till the end. So I might not be able to see your hand up because the lights are shining in my face. But
so then is there no way to get thermal imaging from over a 90-degree field of view?
No, you would have to basically flip the camera sideways to be able to get whatever you wanted. You're only going to be able to get panoramic thermal imagery, and that's it. 3D point accuracy is, did we already go over that? No. The ranging accuracy was 4 millimeters and 7 millimeters. So 3D positional accuracy is 6 millimeters and 8 millimeters. Takes about, it's right around 3 minutes total for the imaging and the scan, somewhere between 3 and 3.5 minutes, depending on the density that you're scanning at and everything else. It is designed for indoor and outdoor use. So you can use it outdoors. Like I said, I would use it for certain things outdoors, but I don't think I'm going to use it in surveying applications. Operating temperature is somewhere around 41 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to about 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And like I said before, it has an IP rating of 54. So just to kind of recap the things that I've talked about, the PSeries scanner is, in my mind, a more versatile scanner. It's much more accurate. If I go back again and we look at the 3D positional accuracy of 6 millimeters at 10 meters. So if you look at that compared to the PSeries, which is 6 millimeters at 100 meters. So there's quite a difference there between the two. You can use surveying workflows and FreeStation with P30 and P40, and you have the real-time liquid-filled dual-axis compensator. So when I look at the BLK, I imagine it more of an indoor use scanner. I think you're limited to range, obviously, and it's less accurate, and you're going to have much more noise in your data as well. It's FreeStation only, so you're not going to be able to set up over any known points, use any kind of surveying workflows, anything like that. And if you look at what's inside of the BLK, it's an IMU. So everybody knows what an IMU is or no? Yes? Okay. No? It's an inertial measurement unit. So I wouldn't quite call it, it's not the same thing that's in, say, some of the phase-based scanners, which would be more or less a tilt sensor, but it will read its tilt. You know, so if it's set up on this incline here like that, it will take a generic reading of that, but it will also keep track of where it is. So if I pick that thing up in the room and I move it over there, it has a general idea of how far I moved from the last position. So when you bring that in, if you're doing it live and you're trying to do your registration, cloud-to-cloud registration using Recap, you're able to do that.
So it will try and normalize, like with scan in this orientation, it will try and normalize the point cloud?
It's going to try to, yeah. It's not going to be perfect though. So when you look at BLK data, which we will here in a little bit, the data that I have, all the data that I have, whether it be P40 or anything else, has never been cleaned. So I always show exactly what came from the scanner. But one thing you'll notice when I look in an orthogonal view is there's going to be a slight tilt to the building. Number one, because I didn't tie into survey control to basically compensate for that tilt. And I didn't do anything in the software. So there's a couple ways. If you're going to go out and you're going to scan buildings and you're not a surveyor, you're either going to, one, want to run survey control if you have the ability, which is what I would recommend, or two, you can use softwares. I know Chad said yesterday you can use Recap360 Pro and basically pick some points on a wall and it'll use that wall and make it vertical. You can do a similar thing inside of Cyclone or anything else where you can basically compensate for that slight tilt that you may have in the building.
So you don't recommend like a tri-back?
You could use a tri-back, yeah.
With a bubble level or anything?
Yeah, I mean, basically this tripod here has a quick release and the thing comes right on and off. But if you can take that quick release and move it to something else, you'll be able to put it on a tri-back. So that would certainly help. It's still not going to be perfect, but it would help. So I'm going to do a quick P-Series demonstration just to kind of show those of you who haven't seen it before. It's actually set up in the back of the room and I'm connected to it wirelessly. So if I just go into scanning here and I've already created my project, I have two options. I have continue and I have setup. Setup is basically if I'm using any of my surveying workflows, whether it be setting up over a known point, resectioning, traversing, anything like that. Continue is if I'm free stationing, which is what I'm doing here today. And then I have all these tabs across the top. This detail scan tab is actually gone in the latest firmware. I just have not upgraded yet, so that's been moved to somewhere else now. So really you only have 4 tabs. So you have your field of view, which you can say target all, or if I wanted to do, say, a custom, you'll see that these unlocked there. So if I was scanning a roadway and I had the scanner sitting here in front of me, I could turn it to the left and lock it, turn it to the right and lock it, and that's the only thing that it's going to scan an image is what I did, what I set my locks to. We'll go ahead and do target all. Really the only thing I want to show is just the ability to acquire targets on board. So we'll call this CP002, and we'll use the video image. And then I'll basically just zoom in here to this target that's back there behind the stage by the drone. And I click a point on it, hit the check mark, and you'll see I have what's called measure and two-phase measure. So I'm only going to do measure in here because the target's so close, but if I ever have targets that are at 75 or 85 meters, I'm typically going to use the two-phase measurement, which is the same thing as you guys doubling your angles on your traverse or anything else. The scanner will scan it once, it'll flop around, and it'll scan it again the other way, and it'll take the mean of the two for what it will store. So this to me is one of the greater things that I like with the P-Series scanners, is the ability to acquire targets on board, because it makes my registration process much easier. If I am doing any kind of setting up over known points, resectioning, or traversing, there's actually no registration process at all. It's all done on board the scanner, and when you import it, your data is ready to work on. But in the manner that I would be doing it here, if I'm free stationing and locating the targets, they already have numbers, so basically all I do is bring them in, and my registration takes probably 5 minutes or less, as long as I named all my targets the same. The important thing to note with this process is Cyclone you can do lowercase and uppercase letters. So if you did an uppercase A, for example, and then a lowercase a the next time, it's going to treat it as a completely separate target. So make sure that your surveyors are calling them the same way, whether it be uppercase or lowercase. What I can do here is I can actually come in and I can view this target now. I can see how it was placed. I can rotate it around to the side to see how well it fit as well. If I'm happy with that, I can come back, and again, I would just hit store, and it was in there. So if I was ready to scan, I could go ahead and start that scan at this time. And it's only about a 58-second scan. I'm not doing any photos inside of here because it's too dark anyway. And as it's scanning, you'll see it pop up here on the screen. Any questions before I move over to the BLK? As soon as Chad disconnects from it again.
Where's the P16 price point in relation to the BLK?
P16's $85,000. So significantly more, but it's a professional grade scanner. It's not, you know, I would market this as like an entry-level scanner, if you will. It's not definitely anything like any of the P-Series scanners, and you'll see a huge difference between the data once I start pulling it up as well. So I'm going to pull up some data now because he's still connected to that.
If you want to do the Jetstream rabbit thing real quick, I thought you were going to be able to.
I'm going to pull up BLK data first. So I have two different data sets here. This first one is outdoor data. Well, it's outdoor/indoor data. So we basically started over in this courtyard area, worked our way through this part of the building, and then came out the other side. So when you look at the data, some of the reasons that I say it's not very good for outdoors mainly is because your limited range that you're going to get on the scanner. So if you really look at this range down the sidewalk here, I would say your limited range is probably about 50 feet. Now granted, that's with this little short tripod, so if I had it set up a little bit higher, you're going to get a little bit further. But again, it's limited range. In addition to that, you would have to run way more surveying control with the BLK than you would ever have to run with a P-Series scanner. You know, if you did a mile's worth of roadway, I would probably be setting points with that BLK about every 100 feet. Where with the P-Series, really all that's required is to have 2 at the beginning and 2 at the end. I'm not saying that that's the way I would do it, but you could do it that way if that's all you want to tie into. So just to kind of look at some of the data here, we'll take a little quick. So right now we're looking at a slice. It's probably about a meter, so we'll change that here. We're not looking quite at so much. So when I look at this line here, you can see there's quite a bit of noise in it. I don't know how hard that is for you guys to see, but the noise that you're going to get out of that scanner is going to be much greater, and that's only looking at, I think it was 5/100 thick slice. A lot of the stuff that we've done so far, in terms of scanning, when we've started to look at it, and that's where you can start to see what I was talking about earlier on. So you see the thickness of that wall looking down because it's not perfectly vertical due to the tilt from the scanner itself, and I didn't set any control or anything to be able to fix that. So real quick, close that one, and this is just some indoor data as well, and I think one of the scans was done without color, but the rest of them were color. So we basically started in this conference room. This is that same building that I was just showing before, just interior space. We started in this conference room, came down this hallway, cut across the kitchen, came all the way up here, back across and down, and then picked back up and went down that way. This is all registered cloud to cloud again, even though it said targets on there. I registered everything cloud to cloud. We did it as a test for targets though. Again, if I start to zoom in and look down that wall, you're going to see that there's a little bit of a tilt to it, and I'm in an orthogonal view right now. So that's either going to be fixed through surveying control or inside of whatever software you guys are going to use. So as you notice, I have the BLK data inside of Cyclone. So you guys that already have Cyclone, you don't have to use Autodesk Recap 360 Pro. You will be able to use and connect to the BLK with Cyclone to download the data if you're storing everything directly on board there. And then you'll be able to import it, like I said. So you're not necessarily having to be stuck to using some software that you're not used to using. I know a lot of people wanted to use Cyclone with it. So, but for those of you who are already using Recap 360 Pro and have never used Cyclone, you can continue doing what you're doing as well, and you don't have to buy any additional softwares either. Oh, he's done. So there's not much really to see when it comes to the BLK, like I said, because it's one button push. Chad's been operating it up there with his demo version of Recap 360 Pro. I don't have the ability to basically connect to the scanner with my Cyclone version and download the data, mainly because right now there's firmware releases for the BLK about every 3 days, which means there's also Cyclone releases every 3 days or so. And I didn't want to have to download Cyclone 3 times a week. So it was my decision to not get the beta version, but I did it for good reason because I didn't want to be sitting at hotels trying to download Cyclone with their terrible Wi-Fi. So that was the main reason that I can't connect to it today. Chad, are you able to show the data? Do you want to show that now, or do you want to?
Yeah, let's plug it in. At least show them an idea of what they're going to see. It's kind of watch paint dry a little bit, but
What do you need?
let's try and put this up there if we can. Maybe leave yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just have to hook back up to it.
All right, cool. So you are looking at the iPad Pro, so it's a little larger than you probably be nice in the field with a little mini or something like that, like we have on the drones. This is a little bit larger. You're probably going to want like a suction cup with a handheld on the bottom of it so you don't drop it while you're walking around. These things are kind of slippery. But other than that, we can probably should get out and get back in, I guess. If you kind of look at what we have here, all we do if you want to see it run is you hit new scan and it just starts. It's going to start going, it changes to yellow and it will begin. As you can see here, we already did 2 scans and it's already starting to register the results together. So we can go ahead and then share that data. And then we'd have to get to another computer to transfer it or link that Recap Pro and then open it up in there. Also, you can click on one of these and take a look at the data on each scan if you want. Find out who's paying attention, right? Who was it? Brian, you're supposed to stand still. And then there's a screen, of course. So at this level, we're not going to be able to see much data. You won't be able to do much with it here. It's just going to register in the background. You're going to transfer it to the Recap full version on your computer, and then you would open it up, just like Brian did with Cyclone, to give you an idea. So I can get out completely if you want. We start a new project and hit scan. You guys see that?
Still going.
Oh, yeah, I don't know why it's, we'll try it here. Maybe why it's, I don't know why it's still yellow. We'll see here in a minute. So all you would do is hit a simple app. Did you hit it?
I hit it when I put it over there, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. So all we do is enter the app on your iPad when you're in the field. You're going to say new project. You're just going to go ahead and type in the name of it. And it's going to automatically find the connection to the BLK360. And just so everybody kind of sees it and see how it works, if you go to Wi-Fi and you look at the Wi-Fi connection, it's just looking for a BLK. Okay. If you have more than one BLK, it would actually connect to multiple BLKs. Is there a limit? Do we know 5?
I think it's 5.
It's 5 as well. You can. Yep. Yep, absolutely. So they are fast. But
the new stuff for the P40s as well. If you have multiple units of those, you can connect to multiple units simultaneously with the simulator and operate all them as well.
And if we remember later, kind of remind me, but they're calling it swarm. So in other words, we could have one here, maybe 30 feet away. You could have another BLK360. So they're both scanning, putting data back to the iPad, and then you would just keep leapfrogging them beyond the entire, whatever. Would you scan the hotel or?
Yeah, down at SPAR, we had 3 units operating simultaneously, and we did about 30 scans in around 35 minutes and scanned almost the entire 4th floor of the Hampton Inn during that time.
How many BLKs?
3.
3 BLKs, okay. So it works. So just a couple quick other ideas. There's your settings button. So kind of like instead of being on board on your scanner, you're going to go to here, select what you want. You can talk about the storage. Recommend getting 128 gig. And then all I'm going to do is connected. You're literally just hit new scan. And it scans. Oops, should be connected. It's not connecting to your scanner. Works great in the back. Let's see what happened. It might have been in the other one there. Should be connected. It's when everybody's watching, right? I wonder if I have to shut this one down maybe. It's one thing I can think of. So if I just hit new scan. It's green, isn't it? Guess I should have waited, huh? Let me make sure I didn't mess up that Wi-Fi when we were when I was talking quick. That should be good. I broke it. Oh, maybe it's if I hold it down, it shows that it's preparing. Can you turn that off? Maybe turn it back on though. That's what I can think of.
Might be the fact that you're connected to the.
Oh.
You might not like that. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's try it. We pass it around, I guess, if you guys want to see it quick. It's the only thing we did different.
Currently, no. No, I mean, when you look at the BLK right now, it comes with a 1-year warranty. The plan right now is if it breaks within that 1 year, you're getting a new one. They're not even going to fix it. If they start getting units in that are breaking, they're going to take those, they're going to refurbish them, and then people will start getting refurbished units if they break. If you have the option as well to purchase a 1-year extended warranty when you purchase the unit. If you don't buy it then, you can no longer extend the warranty. And I want to say it was like $780 from what we saw yesterday. Was that right, Chad?
I think so.
Something like that. So you would basically have a 2-year warranty on the unit itself, and if it breaks during that time, you're going to get a new unit. At some point, they may start talking about CCP and calibration, but as of right now, they have not told us what the plan is for that, but good question.
We can pull that up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to pull that up. The website has a lot of the accessories listed on there with the prices. It just says that they're not available currently. The unit itself basically comes in a little black box. If you buy just the scanner, it comes in a little black box with 1 battery and then a charger. And if you buy the accessory kit, it basically comes with the tripod that you see there, along with it's like some kind of bag, and then a different kind of case for the scanner, as well as I believe a second battery as well. So if you have 2 batteries in the charger, you should be able to run all day because those batteries don't take very long to charge.
40 scans per battery?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's try it again quick. For that.
Oh, you're killing me.
Does it use any of the standard Leica targets?
Yeah, the 6-inch black and whites. Mm-hmm.
So the only difference, you couldn't acquire it in the field, but as long as the target's close enough to you when you scan, you could connect to it and use them afterwards.
Yeah,
To get more accurate registration.
it's going to be like any phase-based scanner, so you're going to set them out in the scene, and as long as they're within whatever range you need them at for the scan density that you have that you're scanning at, you're going to be fine. So the highest resolution for the scanner, I would say your targets will have to be probably somewhere around the 40-foot range, but I haven't tested that yet to know. Just based off the density and what I know the P40 will acquire on board, I would say it'll be somewhere around in that area.
Then you would need Cyclone to assign the targets and do any of the...
You can do some target stuff inside of Recap 360, right?
Yep. You can actually, like if you like a target, you can pick on that target, it finds it, unless you put coordinates to it. Yep. Or attach the 3. All right, we'll try it one more time here. It worked perfectly in the back, as you guys saw going around. The only thing I did was get out, get back in, turn that off, just reconnect it to it for some reason. It didn't find it originally, but it did find it this time. And then you just hit new scan. So I'm not sure, maybe because he ran it manually. We haven't tested it that far yet.
That could have been
The only thing we did differently, maybe you took over the control, which disconnected the iPad. So by turning it off, turn it back on, it then looked for the iPad again. So as you can see, should be pretty simple with new technology. There's always the little things that we find out. So simply hit add new scan, and it's scanning. And unfortunately, after that, it's like watching paint dry. But as you saw, it did pull up the other project there a little bit ago. I think I just suspend this one at any time. Go back over to this one while it's scanning. This one did say registering, so I went ahead and hit merge scans.
Disconnected.
Oh, it did. Okay. Yep. So you won't be able to get out of it. So then when I look at it, I put the 2 scans together. They were on a slight hill here a little bit, but then it shows you, when I just merged the 2, a little registration report that they are put together.
900 bucks.
900. Cool.
Thank you. I didn't even know this stuff was on there until yesterday. Some people were asking questions, and who is it that pulled it up on the
Paige
pulled it up
saved us
for us
yesterday.
and brought it up, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was on there already. So they're adding stuff to the website and changing stuff pretty much every day.
You actually get 2 batteries. So,
With the base unit?
no, with the accessory pack.
Yeah, with the accessory pack you do get 2. I think with the base unit you just get 1.
So 120 scans a day, right?
The battery, it charges like, say, a digital camera battery where it has its own housing and you plug it into the wall. It doesn't have to be charged in the device.
No, it doesn't have to be charged in the device. It'll be external.
Did you have anything else a little bit?
How much does
I have to do that Jetstream stuff, unless you wanted to keep switching.
Oh, keep going.
So I'm going to show a couple things here. First thing I'm going to show is in regards to Jetstream. So I don't know how many people in here have CloudWorks for AutoCAD or MicroStation or Revit or Navisworks or whatever it is, and don't use Jetstream. But I would highly recommend using Jetstream. So Jetstream is essentially just a project vault where all of your data resides. And it enables you basically to take your data and pump it up to your network. And if you have multiple offices, people from different offices can work on the same data simultaneously and not lose any speed. So without Jetstream, you're basically stuck to having the data on your computer or maybe an external hard drive and working straight from there. With Jetstream, though, like I said, you can work directly inside the software. So I've already connected. This is 1.3 miles of roadway. And you can see as I'm panning through here, everything is live. It'll automatically update for me. I can draw my line work inside of here. I know one thing that Chad wanted me to show was some of the new features. So we're going to come down here to this building, and I'm just going to take a quick view box. And this would apply with BLK data or with P40 data. I'm going to look at this building right here. And I'm basically just going to take a quick slice of the wall so I can do some quick down and dirty floor plans. So if I click over here on this 1-point polyline, all I have to do is click on each purpose of the wall, and it's automatically creating and filling my line work for me as I go. And then I can keep going around the building, and it'll keep going as I go. I just kind of did it out of order there, but it's a newer tool with Cyclone, or I'm sorry, with CloudWorks that quite wasn't there before. For those of you guys that have Jetstream or don't have Jetstream but have CloudWorks, you're going to notice that this little tab over here is going to be new, Jetstream Experience, where you can basically click on that and you can demo Jetstream data that we have up on our network, and you can see the differences in the speed and the quality and all that other stuff. Mine is, yes, because I'm not working from a network, but if you had it on a network drive, it shouldn't be much different than what you're seeing right here. I've seen it ran, they've had the data up on like Amazon Cloud, running it straight from there before, and it's worked perfectly fine. So we'll switch over to Revit for those of you who are not Civil 3D users. And I kind of already have all this set up myself. This is, again, it's P40 data, something that I did probably about a year ago. It's all registered cloud to cloud, except for from floor to floor. I actually did use targets from floor to floor, so you can see you've got a basement here, you've got a mid-floor, and you've got a second floor as well. This was about 52 scans that I did in around 4 hours, mainly because I didn't use targets and I did not take any images either. So, you know, images can be nice, but they're also very time consuming when you look at the P-Series scanners, because the camera on that is an internal camera. It's not like the BLK that has 3 camera sensors on it, so it has to take 270 images for a full spherical picture. If you're outdoors, it takes around 4.5 minutes if you're doing HDR. If you're indoors and you're doing HDR, though, it's going to take about 8 or 9 minutes. So your photo time is much longer than that of the BLK. The scan time, though, is going to be much faster. So the scan that I did up there before, I believe, was a 1/2 of an inch at 30 feet, and it took 58 seconds. So, you know, unless you have something like an external camera kit, or like Chad was talking about earlier on with the iStar, to speed up your process of taking those images, you're going to be stuck with what you're doing. And that's why mainly when I do interior work, even when I was on the service provider side, we didn't take images unless they paid us for it, because it takes too much time. And when you're dealing with projects that could be hundreds of scans or thousands of scans, you know, you're talking about days of extra work if you're taking images, where if you're not taking them, you don't have to worry about it. So again, like I said, this is Jetstream. I'm working directly inside of Revit with it. I'm not really going to model anything. I'm just going to kind of show some of the tools. None of these are really new. You do have some modeling tools in here, but they're very, I guess you could call it a little bit generic. I mean, the piping tools, flange, you know, you can connect pipes, you can do steel. Personally, I think the modeling tools inside of Cyclone are better. I think they're faster. And I can actually export a COE out of Cyclone and then import that same COE into here, and it'll come in as Revit objects. So to me, there's no sense really in using the modeling functions that are inside of this space right here, because I think they're better and faster inside of Cyclone. What I think this is really good for is if all you're doing is generating, you know, 2D drawings, or you know, if you're just doing architectural type things. I used to just bring the stuff in just like this and start drawing my walls right over top of the point cloud. When you start dealing with architects and stuff like that, you don't need to show the leans in walls or anything like that, kind of like what you're going to get out of creating patches inside of Cyclone. All they want to know is where the walls are at, and you know, typically if you're within a half of an inch to 3/4 of an inch with their architectural model, they're going to be perfectly happy with that. So you can draw the walls inside of here just as fast as you can do them using Edgewise or anything else. When it came to architectural plans or anything like that, we never used to use any other kind of software other than this to draw our stuff with. The nice thing about the Jetstream is I have instant access to it once I have the stuff inside of Cyclone. So I don't have to export it out to a PTS or a PTX and then convert it over to an RCP file and then be able to bring it into Revit. I can work with it instantaneously. Once I've registered it, I just basically throw it off to the Jetstream project vault, and then I can open it straight up. Any questions on any of that stuff? Chad's going to show some TrueView stuff, and if you have any other questions about the BLK, I can answer those right now as well. Out of Cyclone?
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah.
Be honest.
I am going to be honest. Internally, yes. I'm one of the sales guys, and when we have our quarterly meetings, we've been asking for this for a while. And the way it was explained to me is Autodesk doesn't want to allow us to do that unless we give them access to the P30 and the P40. So currently, you can bring P16 data directly into Recap. You cannot with a P30 and a P40. It's a different file format. Well, Leica doesn't want to do that, because then you can register your data with their software and not have to use ours, and they don't want to allow us to do RCP files direct, because then you don't need Recap. So it's kind of a stalled area, I guess you could say. I mean, I would love to be able to export RCP and RCS files directly from Cyclone, but I don't know if or when it might happen. I think both parties are going to have to give something to get that. So that was a good question, though.
So with the results of the thermal camera, does that actually acquire the temperature, or is it just is it a range, kind of like reflectivity, right? It can determine what's hotter or cooler,
Mm-hmm.
or can it tell you, okay, that spot is 85 degrees?
That I'm not sure of, because I don't know what kind of FLIR camera that's in there. And like I said, the information even that we've been getting to this point has been somewhat limited. So other than the fact that it has a FLIR camera in there, I don't know if you can actually get temperature values off of it. I don't. When you look at the reason, so the BLK was supposed to be released For those of you in the room that already have them, already know this, it was supposed to be released at SPAR. The reason it was not is because it's not ready, and Leica's not going to release something that's not ready. So while we were there, we actually didn't even have any data that we were showing at the time. So people all over LinkedIn and Twitter were bashing us, saying, oh, the data must look like crap because they're not showing any. So that's the next day at SPAR, we actually had data and we were showing it because Autodesk and us basically agreed that we needed to have data to show people that because we were getting bashed, basically. But the reason that it's not ready isn't the unit. The unit is done. There's no changes being done to that unit. It's basically firmware and software things that are being done to the unit itself. So the last time we had our meetings, which were the week after SPAR, so early April, the HDR was not operating properly, which was a firmware issue. The IMU was not operating properly because of a firmware issue. And I don't remember what else it was. There was like 3 or 4 issues that they were having, and it was all firmware issues, bugs in the firmware that just weren't allowing things to work correctly. So when you look at those issues, every time we fix something, Autodesk has to fix their app as well. And the way the manufacturing process works is they don't work on all those things at the same time. They fix one problem at a time. And then when it's fixed, then they move on to the next one. So that's the reason it wasn't released, and it should be, like I said, we've been told hexagon or the early June. So anybody in the room that already has a certificate, the way I understand it is those units will be shipped as soon as it's ready because they already have them. Anybody that's ordering starting today moving forward, they will be shipped in the order that they are taken. So if you ordered one today, you're probably looking at the end of July before you get one.
So with data acquisition, you can either take just the BLK360 out into the field and hit a button and it saves the point cloud, the scan to its internal memory, or you can take the BLK and an iPad out and drive the BLK from the iPad and inspect the data that you're collecting kind of in real time.
That's correct.
Okay. And then to get the data, what file format is it scanning to natively? Is it collecting it? Is it a Leica file format, or is it recap, or?
I don't have any raw data on here, I don't think, but let me look. No, I don't have raw data at all, so I couldn't answer that question at this time. I don't know what file format it is.
It's import it then in Cyclone. Because usually like importing scan station data, import what function are you hitting to import the data?
Inside of Cyclone?
Yeah.
I don't have the latest version, but basically what you do is you connect to the BLK, and then a little screen will pop up, and it'll have all the scans listed on there that are on there. You can select those and then import them directly that way, and then that's also a way that you can basically click on them and delete them off of the scanner as well.
That's all through Wi-Fi.
Yep. Yeah, there's no cables at all for the BLK, so everything has to be done wirelessly. Nope.
Does the IMU function just as accurately or inaccurately, however you want to look at that, in horizontal movement from its last point? In vertical as well as horizontal?
I mean, it's not the same, right? It's not like if you look at the Pegasus 2, for example, that's a military grade IMU that's in there, so it's going to be much more accurate than what's in this thing. Couldn't answer that. I haven't had enough testing with it. That basically, you see this thing sitting here today, and I'm allowed to have it for events like this, and that's it. It basically gets shipped all over the place between all of us guys for events like this. So I've had limited ability to basically test it out. So we have people that are testing them out for us right now. Once I get answers as to how that's going, I could answer it, but I don't know. You guys are asking a lot more questions that I couldn't answer today than the guys did yesterday, I can tell you that much.
We're smartest.
As a skeptic in the back of the room here, you said best practice over and over, target, survey workflow. Can you kind of go over that for some of the people in the room that aren't? I mean, I came from a surveying background, now working for an EPC org, but I think a lot of people, or a lot of the hype is, this is a one-button click and anybody can do it. Can you kind of hammer that home?
Sure.
Because I'm worried, I'm scared shitless.
Mhm.
People are going to do that and give me data that's been bad.
Well, I was in your boat when the Faro Focus 3D came out. I was like, great, everybody's going to go out and buy these things, and I'm going to have less projects. But in some ways that happened, and in other ways it didn't. What that scanner did is it brought the point cloud usage to the masses, in my mind. And even though we had less small projects that we were doing, the amount of medium to large size projects that we started to get increased significantly. So I see the BLK, if you're a surveying company and you don't have scanners right now, you're going to end up falling behind in my mind, because if you look at architects or engineers or anybody else, they're going to start buying these things. They're going to use them for their small projects. They're going to start using point clouds a lot more often than they have already, if they have even been using them, because not everybody is. And then when it comes time for larger projects, they're going to look for people to hire. And, you know, in my mind, even the P40, anybody can run that thing. It's not like it's that much more difficult than this one. Anybody can be taught to run that scanner. My 12-year-old daughter knows how to run my P40. So, you know, it's not like this one's so easy that it makes things different, but the thing that we used to sell when I was on the service provider side was the fact that we had a surveying background and that we had QA/QC measures, and you didn't have to worry about getting bad data from us. Because my honest opinion is, when you look at even cloud-to-cloud registration, even though we did cloud-to-cloud registration on some of our projects, we still set targets. Not all over the place. We didn't have thousands of targets, but we use it as a QA/QC measure. So, because I don't trust software. I'm sorry, but I don't. I don't think that the results that you're going to get, because I've seen results before that say it's good and it's not good. I've seen scans that are in the wrong place, or you know, turned sideways or anything like that. So, unless you really understand what you're looking at, that's where, in my mind, the magic comes in. Anybody can scan. Anybody can be taught to scan. It is easy to do. But understanding control and how to run your control and the QA/QC measures, that's what surveyors do. That's what they're good at. And like I said, that's what we used to sell to people. There was many times that we weren't the lowest bidder on projects, and we still won things. Because we understood how to go, and we understood not only how to run QA/QC and all of our control, but we also understood what they were needing. You know, we got into BIM back in 2011, I think, is when you could really first start bringing point clouds in through a third-party software into Revit. So we got involved in it kind of early. And there's other companies around in the area that were involved in it around the same amount of time. So, did I answer your question? Kind of, sort of?
No, I mean, that's exactly what I want people to hear, was QA/QC still strong targeting. You know, it's not just a one-click.
Right. I mean, even if you're not a surveyor, you know, if you're an architect and you're out there scanning things, you know, I would recommend at a very minimum to have like a disto or some kind of, you know, distance measuring device where, you know, if I scan to this room, I can take some generic measurements, you know, in the X and the Y and in the Z, and then when I bring this room into Revit, I can at least click and take some dimensions and make sure that my stuff is matching the measurements that I took out in the field. The three things that we used to do in addition to running, so we ran the control, we also took distos out in the field as another check. And the other danger that you get sometimes too, that I've noticed, because not all surveyors understand Revit, is they'll just export out a PTS or a PTX file, or maybe they'll even use, they might even convert it, but they don't have Revit to open it up and look at it. So you might get data from a company that's already ready for Revit, but it might not be right if they didn't convert it right, because they have no way of opening up and double checking it. So that was the other thing that we used to do. We would actually open the data up in whatever software we were giving the raw data to people in and double check measurements inside of there to make sure the data converted properly. So when you look at Recap, I never used to use Recap to convert data because I had too many issues with it. I've never had an issue converting data with Revit. However, to purchase Revit to create RCP files would be kind of an expensive purchase. So I wouldn't say I would go out and do that, but I mean, Revit is a very easy software to learn. The BIM market is very, very big. There's a lot of work in the BIM market. I know my former company, even though we started doing scanning for surveying, 90% of our work by the time I left there was building related, whether it be for architects, engineers, plants, anything like that. And the project sizes are huge. You know, you're talking about $250,000, $500,000, even sometimes over $1 million just for scanning on projects inside of some of these buildings, if you're doing the 3D modeling too.
Does Cyclone have any automatic extraction?
It has for pipes.
For pipes.
Yep. That's the only thing though. I mean, everything, when you look at Leica's take on extraction, is they don't want it to be fully automated right now, because how do you know you can fully trust full automation? I know everybody in the world wants an easy button where you click it and your point cloud's all of a suddenly a 3D model, but I don't know that that's a reality right now. They want some human interaction. So like steel is partially extracted. You know, it takes some input from you to create different members inside of there. And the surveying workflows are kind of the same. You can create, you know, line work through either creating cross sections and drawing a cross section across a roadway and then advancing that template forward. And then once you're done, it'll create all of your break lines and line work for you. Or you can create it through a virtual surveyor, which is basically you going through and picking all the points yourself, and then using either Civil 3D or MicroStation or whatever you use to create your line work, which is what your traditional workflow probably is anyway. Anything else?
I realize there's an IMU on board, but is there any talk of making a mobile version of this?
Not as of right now. I mean, I haven't heard anything about making mobile units out of it. They would have to lock it, obviously, to be in profile mode. So I'm not sure. You thinking about attaching it to your drone?
Yeah, I'd like to hang it under the drone.
Everything that I hear right now, because I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about that, and I've even seen, I know some people have like Velodyne pucks, and I've seen Pharaohs upside down on those things, but everything I've been told is the camera sensors that you can get are more accurate than the scanners. So why bother? I mean, if you have a 24 megapixel, or even I think ours can hold a 36 megapixel camera on it, that thing's going to be way more accurate than your scanner is going to be on there. The Velodyne pucks aren't very accurate, especially when you start flying at range. And you know, if you're flying that thing low enough, you're going to be better off using the camera. But I wouldn't mind seeing a more accurate scanner that you could do that with too. So. Yep. I haven't seen theirs. Is that the RI copter or whatever it's called, or?
Yeah, paired up with an aircraft, but I think they're getting better accuracies, but it's the IMU that, I think that's the bigger component of it.
Yeah.
Really good IMU.
Yeah, I don't know what they have in theirs. Like I said, I know the Velodyne pucks just aren't very accurate units, period. You know, that's what we have in our backpack, for example, and the backpack is good for certain things, but it's not good. You know, if I walk through a building, I wouldn't use that model for design purposes because it's not going to be accurate enough. Number one, because of sensors. Two, because like you said, the IMU and the SLAM technology and everything else, that's in it, you're going to lose accuracies with that as well. So.
So with the 6mm at 10 meters data resolution, is that the right way to say it? Like what's the smallest diameter you could accurately measure to at 10 meters? Smallest diameter pipe or conduit?
When we used to do any kind of modeling, we typically specified that most of the time we weren't modeling anything less than 2 inches, because conduits smaller than that can be moved very easily. And the amount of time it would take you to model them with any type of scanner is, people don't want to pay for that. It's way cheaper just to move them, and it's way easier to move them. Occasionally we did have to model down to 1 inch, but most of the time we weren't modeling anything less than 2 inches in diameter. How could you accurately model that? A 1 inch diameter pipe with, or conduit with that? I don't even know that you could accurately do it very well and be very confident. I mean, could you say you could do it within 1/4 of an inch? Or if you were in a plant area, could you say you could do it within 1/8 of an inch? I don't think so.
Right. I mean, typically the smallest electrical conduit's 1/2 an inch.
Right.
3/4 most.
Ryan, you guys do the same thing, don't you? As far as your modeling, you guys probably don't do anything less than 2 inches most of the time?
But we typically, I mean, like you said, there's a significant cost difference there.
Yeah.
And that is our breaking point of the 2 inch.
Anything else? I'll turn it back over to Chad for TrueView. I'm going to be leaving after lunch because I have meetings down in Cleveland. So if you guys have anything else for me, you can just find me at lunchtime or whatever else.
Brian, one other quick thing. When I was playing with the scanner, did you show the Jetstream viewer?
Oh, no, I
Can you
didn't.
show that real quick, and
Sorry.
then I'll come up and finish up?
Yes. I forgot about that. So along with Jetstream, we also have a viewer, and you can connect to any of the same projects that basically I was just in. So we'll use that Main Street one, which was the 1 mile roadway. And there's some similarities between this and TrueView. You know, I can look at it from any perspective I want, just like you can inside of TrueView. The difference is, in here I'm looking at the actual point cloud, where in TrueView you're looking at the image with the point cloud in the background. So I can still turn on images if I want to see those images inside of here. But some of the other things that I can do, if I want to, I can just start flying right through the point cloud, so I'm not stuck to any one particular area. I can speed up as I'm going down the road, and I'm not very good at this without a 3D mouse, so you have to excuse me on that one. But some of the other things you can do, I mean, I can also rotate from anywhere I want. So like I said, it's a nice viewer. You can take some generic measurements in here. There are some video tools up here, so if you had a nice 3D mouse, you can actually record as you're flying through the point cloud and deliver that to somebody. You can also save out JSV files. If you have the, trying to think what the higher version's called. Completely Enterprise. If you have the Enterprise version, you can create JSV files and give them to your clients for them to be able to do the same thing inside of the software, inside of the viewer. So the viewer's free, just like, you know, TrueView viewer's free as well. So just like I said, the differences are you're looking at a point cloud here instead of actual images. Anything else on that, Chad?
I think you do measurements in there is the only one.
Yeah, you can do some measurements too. So, example, if I want to look at this building, I'm just going to click on it, and it's going to automatically zoom so I'm perpendicular to that building face. So if I wanted to know, say, the width of that door, I can just click on the measurement tool. I can click on the door there, and your measurements are down here at the bottom, so it's 3.83 feet. Trying to think if there's anything else in here.
This runs on IMP files.
No.
It shrinks. It's actually better.
It shrinks, yeah. These Jetstream files are about the third of the size of an IMP file. So when you store them anywhere, you know, if you have a 6 gig IMP file, your Jetstream file is only going to be about 2 gig. So if you look at files that come off the PSeries scanners, they're in binary format. And then the IMP basically reads all those ones and zeros to create the photos, and then to go to Jetstream, it actually takes all that point cloud and takes it back to a binary format again. With InfraWorks, Chad, you're going to talk about that, aren't you? A little bit?
Just a
or
little
no?
bit. So Leica is the next one on the roadmap for Leica to do, yes. So they did Navisworks, and InfraWorks is the next priority. But I haven't seen anything on it yet. Cool.
Have you done anything with geolocation of the point cloud data that comes out of the BLK yet?
In terms of like state plane coordinates or anything like that, or? No, everything we've done's been interior building spaces for the.
There we go. All right, so the last couple of things. We talked about the accessories for the BLK. Just wanted to show them a little bit so everybody kind of can see those. We talked about, see if we can pull this image up real quick, what was in the package. So if you wanted any add-ons, like Brandon said, 2 extra batteries. What I like about the extra tripod is it's invertible. So you can actually take the scanner, put it into a manhole, or flip it upside down, of course, and of course the carry-on luggage, and that's the case for it right there. Looks like a fancy upside down wine glass, I guess, right? You just pick it up and use it. So literally, it's like a football. You're gonna take it right on the airplane with you. You don't have to, take the big P40 or anything like that. So it's gonna be a little bit different. Some advantages of that, and there's some pricing for the tripod or just the bag, whatever you guys are looking for. The other one I wanted to point out, you guys, hopefully everybody's familiar with True Views. Brian took it a step farther. I just don't want to keep switching back and forth. But anywhere you do a scan from a single location, you can publish the data and you can get measurements from it. You have to take the data once it's published, and you want to give it to a client. It's the easiest deliverable. But they have to install a free viewer in order to see those True Views to get those measurements. Okay? The problem is every time you say, here, just install this, it's a piece of cake. IT gets involved, or the viewer doesn't work, it's wrong Internet Explorer, it ends up being a whole day trying to get them up and running on your free viewing software that's supposed to be a piece of cake. So to resolve that, instead of doing just the normal True Views, you can do TrueView Global, and you would have basically either on your local server or an Amazon server, you can rent some space, and then you can publish all of your data to that server, and from there, you would click on it, and you can actually have password protection to each of the clients. And this would be your website. You could have your name up there in the lights if you wanted to. So the client would have your logo and your information, and they could either go through all the projects that they logged into, or only the ones that you want them to see would show up, and have password protected on each one. So we'll just go in here to the first one here. And what I'm expressing here, instead of going to the laptop to do this, if anybody noticed, let's see where this one is. There we go. So now we're looking at the TrueView level. Let's just go right in the middle of it here. So it's pretty quick too, right? This is live with the Wi-Fi hooked up to it. I'm not sure where I went, not exactly where I wanted to be. So you can see it's only a couple of seconds. It's going to automatically switch to a new location. And then we can kind of look around here. And again, we get all the measurements on the left-hand side, HTML links. So if we want to go in there and put hyperlinks to documents or videos, manuals, installations, it's unlimited when you start thinking about what you could associate to different information in here, and each user could share that. And you can see this over here as well as it pulls out. You can save any measurements to a snapshot. So you can say, client, go to snapshot 101. It would automatically move this to 101, and that measurement would still be in there. Give you the idea. Why I'm showing this a little bit, we can do a couple quick measurements. I just wanted to point out one thing and get this passed around, either before lunch if you want to look at it, or after lunch, whatever you guys want to do. Some of you already got to see the VR glasses. So to take this to another level, not only did we just open it up on an iPad, right? You don't have to have Internet Explorer. You don't have to have a computer. We could also pull it up on your smartphone. So while you're in the field on a construction project, you could pull this information up and double check different things. So if you're using a PDF, you're getting 3D information. So now this is pretty new. This is like before beta, what we're doing here with these glasses, but it's coming this direction. You're basically going to take anything that is published into the TrueView Global, you're going to be able to put it right into your VR glasses, look at it, and then go in there and you're going to be able to measure from this. I was hoping to have the entire system here and have it set up, but it just didn't work out for the timing that we we did this presentation. The idea is, if anybody's seen some of the different VR, augmented reality, there's like a little stage and it has these sensors on both sides. And you can walk up and grab these joysticks while you have the glasses on. And these joysticks are literally letting you move inside the point cloud. And you can kind of teleport from one location to the next. And literally I can walk in there immersed in a plant and I can measure a column, or I can measure a wall or the floor, whatever we want to. And you're virtually walking around. And you got to be careful not to run into things because you're so immersed in that technology or in that setting. So that's just one thing that we're seeing now. Imagine if I'm wearing the glasses and all of you are wearing the same glasses, or I have you wearing all the same glasses, and I'm navigating you through here on this screen. And maybe let's say I'm wearing the glasses, and what you see, my glasses on the screen, and I could point out any type of collision detections or any problems with the general contractors. So take the TrueView Globals as just existing data, but if you take a Revit model and you publish it into the TrueViews, it would show up in here. Right? So now we have the existing information with the new design, and we're looking at that to make sure there's no conflicts. So now when you take it to that level, it's really becoming useful. Right? We thought VR glasses were only for gaming, right? You put it on the roller coaster or whatever for the kids, and now we can actually do a lot more with it. Click that one more time. So I'm going to just make sure these are working before we pass them around real quick. So all you're going to do is just look around while you're in here. There's a video with you always have a blue dot that you look at, and you're going to see this video that you can click on. There's a little training manual if you want to click on that. Still beta, so we didn't get the words in there to look real good. But over to the left, you'll see FA6, FA5. It's kind of an orange square. If you take the blue dot and put it on the orange square and you hit the touchpad, it will go to that next location. So just like I'm clicking in here and going to these yellow triangles, it would automatically allow you to go to each one while you're in here. Okay? So I'm going to pass these around. Be careful, there's 2 buttons up above. Don't click those, they will kick us out. If you have any troubles, just ask somebody in the back, Kelly, Paige, or Michelle, and they'll set it back up for you, and we'll keep passing it around. Want to take a look at it first? You don't have to you can just kind of hold them up if you want to. The best part is while we're doing this is to watch whoever's wearing them, right? Because they're like this, and they're looking up, and you got to look down. The best part. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if it's the same one, but it has this kind of same effect when you look down because it's from the scanner location, so it seems a little high. Especially if you're putting it up on a catwalk or something, it'd really throw you off a little bit. So first look, what do you think? It's pretty neat, isn't it? So if you line up the dot, right, the blue with the red, FA6, FA7, and you hold that button, you will advance to each one, which is kind of cool. Right now it's not super useful because we're not doing measurements. We're not doing a lot with it. You're just viewing a real live environment with real measurements. But we could put measurements in there right now. Whatever you publish in this TrueView would show up in those glasses right now. But think about where you could take this if now we're all seeing what everybody else is seeing, and if you do put the Revit model in there live, how much of a difference that is. Right? You got the steel, you got your duct work, you can talk to general contractors live. A lot of people are afraid of 3D. They still do everything in 2D. Once you see this, you're immersed 3D, and it would be hard to go back to even work in 2D. And if you think about the students today, this is probably what they're going to be working on in a couple of years. They're going to get out, they're going to forget how to work in 2D. Right? How many of you guys use a 2D map to get here today? Right? What's a 2D map? Right? Look at us. Think about the younger generation. They're not going to do absolutely anything with 2D maps. Everything's going to be 3D. Right? Everything's on our phone. They want to be immersed in everything, and it comes right in there. So if you get a chance, don't pass it up. It's a really cool thing. Even if you looked at other VR opportunities in the past, just take a second to at least put them on, because this is real data and where I think the future is going to be with everything construction-wise, AEC as well. Yep. So there's going to be 2 different directions. Right now, what we can do is someone's in the live, the room, I guess, and then everybody can actually see what they're doing. So if I went in there like Navisworks and I found clash detection, I can literally circle it. I could put some notes on it, and I can instantly print it while I'm in the VR glasses, and everybody, general contractors, everybody seeing the screen will see what we're doing and then get a print out of it. Kind of like a Navisworks clash detection report at the end of it. Exactly, right? Instant. So the other one we're looking at is think of a GoToMeeting account. right? Everybody kind of logs on no matter where you are and you have access to it. At this time, everybody would still have to put the glasses on, and then you would just follow the leader, kind of whoever's the presenter, which is pretty neat at that point. But, you know, ideally, I don't think you're going to go out in the field. The goggles are not cool yet, right? But they're going to get smaller. They're going to get tiny like the Google glasses, and that's going to be the future. But it's still a little bit in the works, but that's where we see it going already. Yep. So this is more virtual reality, right? We're taking existing data, pulling it into the glasses, and measuring off the existing. And we can bring in design work from Revit or different other platforms. You can put AR in there, but it is completely different. But think about, I don't know what version, or there's only a couple where you can actually see the video or a hyperlink. But anything that has AR could be like a hyperlink. So you just tag that in there, and you're going to see it. So a lot of companies want to do it for training. You're walking into a plant, there's water, something slippery. They want to train people what to do. You know, the lockout taggings, if your safety is really the first primary where it's going to get started, because safety can get the funding first, is the idea of this, right? But I definitely see general contractors navigating to it quickly, or whoever's the lead is on the project, forcing that down, just like BIM, right? You're taking a BIM model, compared to the existing data, and show everybody where they're off, or why is this not going together correctly? You could jump into these glasses, everybody gets on the call, and you're going to see that someone didn't install it where they're supposed to. They're a couple feet off, right? You have to go back and move this. It's going to be very quick and easy to see, even from the job site or nationally. Very cool. So people that looked at it, it's pretty cool. Pretty neat, isn't it? It's crazy how it just changes your focus, and you can look inside there. So other than that, just a couple of quick things. Hopefully everybody's seen this, or if you have any questions, come grab any of us at lunch. But the idea, you can just click on anything that you want to, and then you can just do a measurement. Whoops, I can drag these and change these as well. So it's the first time I actually had a nice iPad this big to use. Usually I'm doing measurements on my phone, different things. So you can just drag them from one to the other. There we go. And you can change the units. Then you get your distances up there. And then you can go ahead and take snapshots of this at any time. You can turn all the other neighboring locations off. So if you don't like the triangles, or if you want to swap them out for a different icon, you can do that as well. And you can change the visibility and the distances that they show up. And then the geotagging, you could go in there and just add your hot links, type in text, or type in a website, maybe YouTube or whatever it is, to see that. Oops. Thought that would take me right back. I think there's just a little bit of lag there, guys, that's causing it. Cool. Any questions with the TrueView Global? Does everybody understand it's different than the Jetstream? So what the Jetstream's allowing you to do is take individual locations and now navigate through this, right, in real time. And the biggest difference between scan data and what we're seeing here is you're looking at the images in front of the point clouds. So all the point cloud data is behind it. So it just looks more of a real dynamic environment rather than the point clouds. And you're seeing the exact same thing. If you put the glasses on, you're seeing the images, and that's why it's a little bit clearer than you do with the point clouds. Cool. Any questions? Very good. Everybody hungry? All right, let's, I don't know if I think the lunch is here. Let's go ahead and break for lunch a little bit.